Welcome to Selling in the Motor Trade, in association with Automotive Management and symcotraining. This is the weekly podcast where we share best practice, tips, and ideas on how to sell more cars, improve your service department, and generally put more profit into your dealership or dealer group. I'm your host, Simon Bowkett, or some of you might already know me as Skippy. And firstly, I want to say thank you for taking the time to tune in. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Selling in the Motor Trade. Hey, listen, today I'm joined by Robin Luscombe, and I've been following Robin on LinkedIn for, it must be about 5 or 6 years now. And I've always really admired the way that Robin tends to punch above his weight. Now, I hope I'm not offending my guests when I say that, but actually, his marketing, what I see on social media is really top notch. So listen, we're going to welcome Robin in a second, but I want to ask a favor first. If you're listening to this podcast now, do us a favor, go and like it. Go and put some sort of comments on Apple or Spotify there, and actually get as many managers or salespeople to listen to this, because we want to get this podcast out to the motor trade everywhere in the UK, Ireland, throughout Europe. If you listen to this in Australia or America, again, you're welcome to us. So please do us a favor, go and like this. And Robin, that just leaves me to say, hi, and how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm a bit surprised to be asked to do this, but yeah, no, it's good.
Well, listen, I'd love to do this because it's I really do admire the way you punch above your weight. Now, listen, just to get to know you to start with, we like to ask our guests a few quick fire round of questions. So can I ask you, what would you prefer, sir? Are you more a cold beer or a glass of wine, or neither?
I'm a glass of wine at home and I'm a pint of bitter in a pub.
Fair enough then. Okay. Are you a early bird or a night owl?
Both.
Both. Okay, that's running your own business.
Yeah.
A nice Italian meal or a curry?
Well, I live in Yorkshire, very close to Bradford, so we have loads of curry places, probably the best curry in England, but I do like Italian as well.
A bit of both again. Would you be a good book or a movie?
Sport. I watch sport. I watch sport. I'm not a film watcher. I listen to books. I read a few books on holiday, but I'm a sport addict.
What's your sport, sir?
Any sport. My missus says it's wheels and balls, but okay. It's anything really.
Wheels and balls, fair enough. And are you a beach holiday or a city break person?
I'm a bit more into. I'm so different here, but I'm a countryside person.
Very good. Very good. And the last one, would you be more Facebook or LinkedIn?
I'm a bit of both.
Bit of both.
But that's it. I can't do any more.
Can't do any more. Perfect. Perfect. Well, listen, Robin, can we ask you then, how did you get started in the motor trade?
I stopped on at school to take my A-levels after getting 5 O-levels. And after about 6 weeks, I realised that A-levels worked for me. Looked in the paper for some jobs, saw a job for an apprentice parts person at a British Leyland dealership. Thought, well, I'll see. Might get an interview. I'll get a bit of an experience of an interview. Got an interview, got the job. Hadn't got a bloody clue what I was doing or anything. Got the job, went and started. That was it. That's
how you started. So in the parts department then? Okay.
Yeah, in the parts department. Yeah.
So do you remember the first day on the job? What was it like?
I remember the first day on the job. I was that naive. I went to a very big British Leyland dealership then, and I didn't even know what the parts department was. I went to service reception because it said reception on the front of the building. So I went to reception and said, I've come to start. Well, what are you doing? I said, working in the parts. So he said, well, you better get in the parts department then.
Fair enough then. That was your baptism of fire there.
That's it. I was in.
Hey, Robin, this is a shameless plug for our first 90-day sales fitness training program. And we often say that the skills we learn in the first 3 months of their business, good and bad, often last for the rest of our career. Can I ask you, is there anything that you learned in your first 3 months, your first 90 days, that's as relevant today as it was when you first started in the industry?
FIFO.
Say that again, sir.
FIFO. First in, first out. As a partsman, we always had to go for the oldest parts and what have you, get the old ones that have been there for a while at the back of the bin, get them out. And it's exactly the same with cars or anything. You've got to get rid of your oldest stock first and your newest stock last. And it was parts, experience, it's car sales, it's everything. You need to get rid of the first in, first out.
First in, first out. Hey, that's always going to be important, isn't it?
Yeah.
So listen, I got to ask you the question then. Some people will be listening to this, and you started in the parts department. You end up owning your own franchise dealership, a dealership that's doing very well. Tell me, how does that happen? How do you go from the parts department to owning your own dealership? Can you tell us the story?
Well, I worked at a big group in the parts department for 3 years. Then I left and went to work in the parts department of a small family-owned business. Developed in a small family-owned business from parts to parts and service. There was only one salesman at the time who was also the manager. When he was on holiday or when he was busy at service reception that I was doing and parts, you knew the customers, you'd help out in the showroom. So you start selling a few cars, then he goes on holiday, can you look after the showroom? Things move on. And actually, I was never really a proper car salesman. I got into buying cars, and the sales bit was always just a little bit that you did just to help out. And then the opportunity came to take on and be the manager of one dealership. So I said, yeah, I can do that. And they said, oh, I'm not sure whether you can. I said, yeah, don't worry, whatever, I'll do it. Don't give me any more money. And in 6 months' time, I'll come back and I'll want paying. Okay. All right. And then there was two in the same family group. There was another car dealership, and the guy who was running the other side left. And I said to the guy who owned it, right, I says, I'll run them both. Oh, I don't know about that. And I said, well, I'll do the same deal. I says, I'll do it for 6 months and don't give me any more money. And in 6 months' time, I'll come and the exact words that I said was, I'll stand on your prick in 6 months' time because I want some money. And he said, what happens if you don't do it? I said, that's my problem. Don't worry about it.
Robert, sorry to cut you off there, but listen, the managers listen to this. You've got to pick up on exactly what Robin said. Do the job before you get paid for it. Too often times I get sales managers saying, why haven't they given me that DP job? Why don't I do it? And I say, you always do the job before you get paid for it. I just love that confidence there. Don't pay me more. Actually, just in 6 months' time, have a look and see if I'm worth it. If not, I'll come and stand on your prick. I love that. So many times, okay, I get people whinging that, well, why didn't they give me the job? You should be the natural choice to get that job. Sorry, I cut you off there, but I just love that approach.
Well, he couldn't refuse. The concern that they had was, what happens if you don't do it? Because you can't go backwards. I said, well, that's it. If ever you want motivation, I can't go backwards. So if I can't do it, I'm out the door. But don't worry, I'll do it. And that's how it sort of developed. And things just grew and grew and grew. And it got to the point then I'd worked there for 28 years. I was a director. I was running 4 of the sites. The 4 car sites that they had, we'd grown it from 2 to 4, which is only small, really, but it was a fair job. And I was getting well paid. And I just decided that there was an itch that I had to scratch, and I had to find out whether I could do it for myself. And I'd been probably fairly cute that. When I'd been earning good money, I'd been paying off my house. I'd got myself into a reasonably good financial position where I was in a position where I could take the risk and I could raise some collateral to put in for a dealership, because it is an expensive job. You do have to put not only do you have to put your life and your balls on the line and whatever, you've got to put your house and everything else on the line. So yep. It's a scary old thing, and you've got to have. I thought that I was all right, and I had to borrow 100 grand off a mate of mine because I still didn't have enough. Okay,
but I tell you what, you've got to make sure it succeeds, then, don't you?
Oh yeah. Fortunately, he was fairly confident, and he got paid back pretty quickly. But yeah, there's nothing like. I say that I spun the roulette wheel and put everything on black or everything on me. So it was down to me. I'd made the decision, walking away from a good job. If I'd have then failed, it would have been such an embarrassment and just such a dent. There was no way. There was no way in the world that it could fail.
But every successful person, Robin, I hear that you've done that again and again. You've said, hey, I'll run that business. Pay me in 6 months' time if I get it right. I'll run the 4 businesses. Pay me right if I get it right. And this is the ultimate. Hey, if I don't get this one right, my own dealership, you're going to take your house off me. Okay, you won't give you 100 grand back to your mate. You just couldn't live with yourself, I imagine. You had to succeed.
Yeah, I'm driven by pride and achievement and whatever. I'm actually, surprisingly, I'm not driven by money, which is strange. Somebody in the car industry, but it's all about achievement and satisfaction and reputation.
Yeah, well, that brings me on to my next question. I was going to ask you, what does drive you every day then? So it's not money, sir. It's actually that satisfaction. What is satisfaction to you? What is hey, listen, we've done a really good job at Luscombe Motors.
I just want a stunningly good, successful business. I like it when I can, when I've got staff that this is going to sound really a bit sort of cheesy, but if the staff that work for me, if I can better their lives through what they get out of me pushing and shoving and driving them and whatever, and that can improve their lives and improve my life, and we have a good reputation, that's and just being successful. I like paying people a lot of money. Which is really strange. There's no cap on any earnings at our place and what have you. The more we make, the more they get. I pay bonuses twice yearly to all the staff. It's not a workers' cooperative, obviously, but I do like to. Without the staff, we can do nothing. So I like to share what we've got. Obviously, we've got to leave some for future investment and everything else, but I do to share it about and reinvest the money that the company, that the staff and everybody makes in the company to sort of go again and make it more successful, but without making it big.
Okay.
One of the problems of making it bigger is that it's not as nice a place to work at.
So make it better, not bigger. Is that the philosophy?
Yeah. You can. I've been asked a lot of times about when am I going to buy another site and this, that, and whatever, and turn it into a motor group. I'm not interested in that, because once you start to have different sites, different locations, you lose the DNA of the business, because it becomes the DNA of different managers, or it becomes a process-driven business. And we're a culture-driven business, and I'd rather have 50, 60 staff within the company that enjoy coming to work and like it, rather than having 150 that are just numbers or just doing job.
Just doing the job. Yeah. So you really run it like a family-run business, I'm hearing there. The culture is so important to you. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I've thought about this word, a family business, because what is a family business? Any business that's owned by a family is a family business, but they don't treat people like family. And what I'd like to say is that a family business is a business that treats its customers and its staff like family.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's what we like to think that we do, or that's what we strive to do. Customers and staff like family. Okay.
So when you started in the business, Robin, can I ask you, was there any mentor, anyone that you looked up to that when you were starting on thinking, okay, that's how they would do it, and you refer back to them now, even now? Was there anyone that stands out in your career?
There was a guy that was at the previous company that unfortunately suffered from cancer and he died. He brought me on. He was a good guy. That was back in the late 80s, early. He died in 91, so that was sort of way back. I was very fortunate that the guy that I worked for 28 years, Colin Appleyard, he was a superstar. He was a proper bloke, very honest, very straight. we're a bit of a carbon copy. He's modelled a lot on that, but with a lot of tweaks. But yeah, no, Colin was a proper bloke.
Cool. Okay. Well, listen, I followed you a long time on LinkedIn, and I understand the way you operate is different to a traditional dealership. And this is what I'm really keen to get into, if it's all right. I understand if I'm a salesperson working for you, you want a salesperson to do pretty much everything. You want the salesperson to be the sales manager, the business manager, the handover specialist, doing the whole lot. Is that right? Can you tell us about how you run that business there?
Yeah, when I bought the business, this all started because I realised that car buyers don't like the experience of dealing with a salesman that runs backwards and forwards to a sales controller or a sales manager in an office who never comes out of the office. And the customers sit at the desk waiting there. They get bored. Why can't he come out and talk to me? They didn't like it. And I had to have a USP because I was going into a big city competing against PLCs and regional groups with plenty of money. And I was skint at that point when I started. And I wanted to sell cars the way that people wanted to buy cars rather than the way that the industry wanted to sell them. And I took the risk, brave decision and what have you, that we were going to, the initial slogan that we had was straight talking salesmen and managers who come out of the office, which basically told anybody what we did. And I was the sales manager initially.
Yep.
And I got another sales manager who sat in the showroom. And customers liked it.
Yeah.
Customers just liked it. They weren't left sat there. And then we had to teach the salesman. I said that customers prefer dealing with one person. They don't like getting passed about. They don't like all this different people. So I said to the salesman that we got to teach you how to value cars. We got to teach you how to do finance because there's no reason why you can't do everything. And the customer comes in, you build a rapport with them, you deal with them. Yeah, you're gonna need some assistance, and you bring us in and whatever, and we'll go and look at the car together if it's something that you can't value or it's beyond your level of expertise or level of risk or level of responsibility that you want to take, and we'll do it collectively. And customers liked it, and that's been the big thing that's been our USP, where people actually enjoy buying a car because we'll deal with them. However, if they come in and they want to, how much is my car worth? Yeah, all right, no problem. We'll go and give you a price for your car. Can I have a test drive in that car? Yeah, you can have a test drive in that car. We don't need to go through the whole rigmarole of inside leg measurement, email address, telephone number, this and that. If someone wants to test drive in a car, let them have a test drive in a car. We're going to find all this information out while we're test driving them. When, have you got your driving license with us? So we find the name and address that way. We do it softly rather than just like, hang on a minute, we've got to tap it all into the computer and we've got to do this, that, and the other. Come and sit. I only want a test drive. I only want to look at it. Can you open the door? Can you let me sit in it? Yeah, no problem. Yes, I'll get the keys. You can sit in it. Just make it nice and easy.
Yeah, I suppose your salespeople might like that as well. Save working in a PLC environment where they have to go to the sales manager, have to go to a business manager, they have to go back and forth, back and forth. I take it you get lots of salespeople really like your approach as well.
Yeah, we get salespeople that like our approach. We do get some people that find it very, very difficult because they like to be controlled because they're not able to operate in an uncontrolled environment. But actually what we want the people, if I wanted to pick the people that are best suited, it's anybody who really wants to be self-employed, who wants to be a self-employed car salesman, who wants their own business, but hasn't got the funding or the balls or whatever to go out and do it. And I'll provide the stock, the marketing, the resources, the building, the phones, the computers, everything. And all they have to do is do the bit that they actually like doing, is selling a car to somebody. They don't have to risk their money and they get a cut of the profit from selling it. It's sort of, to anybody that that can't afford their own business or that wants to be their own boss, selling cars for us that's just for them.
You know what? Any car salesperson listen to this, please tune into what Robin's saying. You're running your own business within a business. Every top salesperson I've ever met, they see it as their own business within a business. And I say this all the time. Let's say a person is selling, I don't know, 200 units a year. And the average value of the car is, I don't know, £20,000. We say to them, listen, that's a turnover of £4 million. If you had your own business selling coffee, turning over £4 million, would you have a business plan? You probably would. If you had your own business turning over £4 million selling coffee, would you insist your staff knew why your coffee was better than Starbucks or Costa? Of course you would. You'd insist your staff spoke to every customer every time that come into your business with a big smile on their face. You'd insist that you tried to upsell every time. Would you like to go large today? Would you like a slice of cake with that today? You'd insist, you say, hey, come back, see us next time. And salespeople, listen to this. Please listen to what Robin's saying. Treat it as your own business within the business, because it really is. It really is. And that's what the top salespeople I've ever met, they treat it that way. And they almost brand their own business. And it sounds like you encourage that approach as well, Robin.
Yeah, absolutely. They have as much freedom as you get anywhere, but with no risk. I take all the risk.
Okay.
And I've in the gap between resigning as a director from one dealership and buying a dealership, it was about 18 months in the gap, because nobody had talked to me while I was still employed and what have you. You had to real show commitment, because you've got to leave and be out of work before anybody will talk to you about selling them a business, and manufacturers will talk to you. I spent 18 months buying and selling cars into the trade to retail people, this and the other, while I was on with trying to buy a dealership. And I tell you what, it takes some doing to make some money. By the time you've paid your insurance and you've paid your advertising and you've prepped them and you've paid the VAT bill and everything else and what have you, and you've put you paid your petrol and everything else and what have you, it's pretty tough. You do a lot of work and you don't end up with a lot of money. And, you know, you can be a car salesman earning 50, 60, 70 grand a year. All you got to do is just go to work.
So let me ask you, you got new starters. How do you get them up to speed? Because again, I'm putting myself in the shoes of maybe a dealer principal, sales manager listening to this thinking, how would I get a brand new person to do everything themselves? Surely it's my job to make sure my cock's on the block, as we would say back home. If I get that wrong, okay. How do you get your new starters up to speed?
You've got to coach them. You've got to work with them. You've got to you give them a bit of rope and a bit more rope and a bit more rope and whatever. And most of the people that come actually are they're frightened. They need that reassurance, because it's such an unusual way that we operate, that existing car salesmen come and they're, oh, hang on a minute. Can you help me? Can you just help me value this? Have I valued this right? Yeah, that's all right. You valued that right. Because if you trust somebody, people don't like to breach trust. So if you empower somebody and give them that trust that, yeah, that's all right, we're here when you need us, but you know, you go on and you're a car salesman, you can sell a car, you can show the car, you can do whatever, you can appraise the car. The less likely, or I've found, the less likely to drop a bollock than when it's a rules-driven process. Because if it's a rules-driven process, they try to find ways around the rules. Where you actually just trust and empower people, nobody likes to break somebody's trust or to overstep the mark, you know, because they'll get found out. So it's easier just to take it as far as they dare take it and then just ask. And we're there to support and help and assist and train. It is quite difficult. It was a major challenge when I opened there in 2010 to take the 3 existing salesmen that were there. they had a meeting round the back after I'd been there for a couple of days and said, this bloke's nuts, he's going to go bust in 6 months.
That was nice of them.
Yeah. But, I told them all these ideas that we were going to do, and they just sort of like, oh, it's so different, it can't possibly work. Well, obviously, it has worked. Yeah.
So how many of those 3 are still there, or did they not make it?
No, one's still here.
Wow, okay.
One left about 3 years ago because he got married and he got kids, and his girlfriend was worked in a school, and he wanted to have school hours. Okay. But he actually said to me that if he ever went to sell cars, he'd never go and work anywhere but working for me. And one of them lasted a couple of years, had a bit of a... he was young and he did something silly. Okay. And he had to go. And he's now actually grown up. He's got married, he's got kids, and he's on about coming back.
Well, so you've actually brought them with you then? The same people are saying, this guy's a nutter. You've actually brought them with you.
Yeah,
I like
that.
Yeah. I love that. Absolutely love that. Okay. Now, listen, lots of managers listening to this at the moment. We have lots of dealer principals, managers. Can I ask you, what advice would you give for the manager that's listening to you thinking, okay, well, I like what Robin's talking about. How do I do that in my business? Okay. What advice would you have for them?
If you're allowed within the scope of what you're allowed to do, which obviously in a lot of places you won't be allowed to do, but it's basically allow a customer to buy a car how you would like to buy a car if you were a customer, rather than how the industry and all the gurus in the industry, and with the greatest respect, trainers in the industry.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Have told us, the old Pendle thing and all this, that, and the other, have told us how we have to sell cars. Because a lot of the rules are on historic rules on how to sell cars are based on making it easy for businesses to control salesmen. And no consideration was ever put in for the customer experience. And now customer experience is everything. Because they have so much more choice. Customers are not stupid anymore. They'll not just go to the nearest dealership. They'll not just drive around on a Saturday. They'll not just look in the paper. They're far more informed. Yeah. And we used to be able to sell cars to people, or people used to sell cars. And it was easier when people were less informed and less educated. You could bamboozle them, and you could tell them stuff that people told them all sorts of stuff. Now the consumer is more informed. There's more information. They've got more information. So you have to make it a nice experience for the consumer. From the first inquiry that the consumer makes, from the first time you actually put a car on the internet, that has to appeal to somebody, because you're never going to get to see most of the people who see your cars.
Yeah.
Historically, when people used to drive around on a Saturday and what have you, you'd see everybody that was looking for cars, because they'd come on your pitch and you'd talk to them and whatever, and you'd try to sell them, because you had to sell them that car, because if not, they were going to the next dealer down the road. Now, by the time you speak to a customer, they've already decided that they quite like your car.
Yeah. So
the salespeople, if they don't do it right, they cost you a sale rather than create you a sale.
Yeah, so true. If you just look at the numbers, I think back in 95, what was it? The average customer visited 6 dealerships physically before they bought a car. It come all the way down to what, 1.2, depending on who you speak to. In the pandemic, though, listen, people don't turn up until the car's done sometimes. And I smiled about that Pendle process. You know what? Pendle was around where there wasn't the internet. It didn't work. People know more about that car than what we do, because they've done so much research on that one car there. And it's dead right. We've just got to help people to buy. So listen, let me ask you a question then. You speak to Dash from Marshall's organization, Robert Forrester, and they'll talk about these big dealer groups getting bigger and bigger. I think Dash turned around and said he thinks there'll just be about 5 or 6 super groups. Can I ask you, Robin, is there space for the independent dealer anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. It always makes me laugh when they get on about consolidation and getting bigger and bigger and bigger and what have you, because bigger is not better, not necessarily. But if you add up 10 good independent dealers, their sales and their profits, the return on sales, the return on investment, the employee satisfaction, the staff retention will be far higher in those 10 or 20 independent single site businesses than the equivalent sized PLC. The PLC just all collect themselves together and have scale, but the rules and the processes that they operate under, it's all down to individual branch managers, and they're only as good as each branch manager, and they do a great job. I could never and would never be interested in running 100 dealerships, 20 dealerships and what have you. But we manage the people, we manage everything. We're there, we can see everything that's happening. I like to think there's some of the stuff that we can't do as well as them. We don't have a marketing department with loads of people in there, but people buy cars from us because of the culture and because my mobile. Dash Gupta or Robert Forrester's mobile phone number isn't on his website. You can't ring him up and complain. You can ring me up and complain. You can ring me up and buy a car now. My mobile phone number's everywhere. And they can't compete. There's no way that they can compete with that.
Yeah, that's so true. And listen, you put your mobile phone number everywhere. Okay, I suppose some managers are saying, "Oh, hold on, what if people phone me all the time?" Is that really an issue? Probably not.
No, it's not an issue. They phone me for two. They phone me for three things. Mm-hmm. One is to buy something.
Yep.
Two is to complain about something. Well, I want both of those, because I want to know if somebody wants to buy something, and I want to know if somebody wants to complain, because that I get to know straight away what the problems are.
Yeah.
And there might be a third where they might ring me if, for some reason, they can't get through on the phone, on the landline or whatever. So then they ring me and then I deal with it. So every phone call that comes on my mobile, and there aren't very many, there isn't one a day.
Wow. And it's all on the website, and it's still just not one a day.
No.
Wow.
No way. But people know that they can ring me.
That's the important part.
Yeah, because when they're buying a car, if there's a problem, you can ring him. Right. Okay. Yeah, but they don't.
But they don't. Listen, there was one particular group I knew of there, and an email come through to a decent sized group, and they do very well. They punch above their weight. And I get what they're trying to make with this, but I think they may have missed it. They said, if a complaint gets to head office, you've done something wrong. And they made it really hard to make sure the complaint gets through to head office. So I know what they're trying to say. They needed to own it at the dealership. Yeah. And I get the point they're trying to make. But actually, if it does go through the head office, you need to be all over it all day long. I love the idea your phone number is everywhere there. And people
need to know.
Yeah.
You just need to know.
Yeah. Okay.
And the other thing about that is that it doesn't half-sharpen everybody up, because everybody on the shop floor knows that if they don't look after somebody properly, he's got the chance that they'll just ring me.
Yeah, that's true. So that in itself makes sure that people are looked after well.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And listen, here's the other thing that you're right. The independent dealer, okay, you can punch above your weight on return on sales, the profit you make. And we just need to look at Companies House on any of the PLCs, any of the groups, just have a look at what they're doing, turnover, what the return on sales are. You see that again and again. And I wonder sometimes on the whole manufacturers, the OEMs, sorry, I'm getting old now. I still call them manufacturers. Apparently we need to call them OEMs now. In fact, I was at a conference once and I had to Google what an OEM was because it snuck up on me. But anyway, so many times, okay, they're talking about this agency model and they want to go to the agency model. And I got a little view on this, that with the agency model, and of course, there are lots of different agency models. Maybe some of the big PLCs don't mind the agency model because when they have a look at what their return on sales are, And if they're guaranteed they'll get the minimum of that, maybe it's fine. And maybe it's the independents that are actually punching above their weight on that. Maybe it might affect them more. So I think we're just going to have to wait and see what happens with the agency model. But I hear lots and lots of manufacturers talking about that route.
I'm not too worried because I actually don't think it'll work, because I think the manufacturers will try it and I think they'll realise that it doesn't work. Because to sell cars, you need entrepreneurial dealers. We are dealers, wheeler dealers. We duck and dive and wheel a deal to do a deal. We don't sell something for cash. We sell something for a product and some cash. We're horse traders, because if you're buying you buy anything else, it's a product and you pay for it cash or finance. With a car, there's nearly always a part exchange involved.
Yeah.
Or it's a second-hand car. A second-hand car doesn't have a fixed price. So it's all about ducking or diving. And that's what we're good at, especially the more entrepreneurial, smaller independent dealers. And the manufacturers aren't good at that, because the manufacturers need to follow a rigid process. So I don't have any fear. Whatever cards they want to deal us out, we'll find a way of making the best of it.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I believe you're right there. People still buy people. I think they always will. And there's 3 sales in any sale for me. You need to sell yourself first, the product second, and then the numbers. And I suppose you see the Cinches of the world, the Kazoos of the world. And listen, by the way, a sensational valuation of Kazoo. Okay, I don't think their valuation, their market capital, stacks up with the profit they're making at the moment. But hey, listen, it seems to be doing better than what I thought it would have done. However, I still believe that people buy people. And that's where I want to get into the online digital world. Okay, it always seems the time that the bigger the group for me, whenever we do some sort of digital inquiry, it sometimes might go to that big call center. It might go to digital marketing center. And by the time you get to the person who knows about the car, it's too late. Can you tell me about your online approach? What do you get your salespeople to do with that digital inquiry that comes through?
Jump on it straight away.
Yeah.
So jump on it straight away, but they've got to spend enough time to send a proper response. It doesn't happen, or it almost never happens, where somebody will send an email in and the salesman will go back to them and sort of give them some information and then say, give us a ring, or let's get you on the phone. I go absolutely berserk. We have to engage with them by email. Once we've engaged and once we've got a response, the purpose of our response to an email inquiry is to get a response to our email.
Yep.
Because if we don't get a response to our email, it's dead and buried.
Yeah. Very quickly. They're on to the next.
They're on to the next. So all we've got to do is we have to send an email back in response to their inquiry. And that is measured. Success or failure is, do they reply?
Yep.
Because if they don't reply, it's a waste of time, finished, gone, that's it, end of story. If they do reply, right, we're on now, we've got a chance of building some engagement, and at some point we're going to either get, somebody's going to come and look at a car, we're going to get on the phone, we're going to get text messaging, we're going to get video calls, we're going to get WhatsApp, FaceTime, whatever. But unless you get a reply to that first email, it's a waste of time.
It's engagement. You need engagement. So it needs to be personalized. We need to give a reason why. Because so many times I see this response. Can you tell me, is the car available? Or what's my car worth? Or what deal can you do on this? Or what's the best price you can do? And too often I see a one line. Yeah, the car's available. When's the best time to call me? Yeah, the car's available. Can you call me? Want to know what your car's worth? Can you call me? Want to know anything? Call me. And I just scream and say to myself, if they wanted to phone, they would have picked up the phone. Okay. Yeah. And the other thing is, people who are busy, they're working. People who buy cars have jobs. There's so many jobs where people can't just pick up the phone straight away. Now, we know as salespeople we want to do that, But I think we've got to earn the right to go from a digital inquiry to that phone call. And I love that you said it's that engagement to start with. Jump on it as quick as you can to get the response. Okay. Hey, you want to know what the best price is? Hey, the best price is always going to be the best balance to change. Hey, can I have the registration number of the car you're looking to trade in, please? Okay. Let's just talk something like that to engage with these customers there. Okay.
But it's very strange, because if a customer walks onto a forecourt and says, I'm interested in that blue Suzuki Swift,
yep,
the salesman will go straight in, get the keys and tell them about that blue Suzuki Swift.
Yep.
You know, it's one owner, it's lovely, it's 1242, it does 50 miles to the gallon, it's this, that, and the other. Blah, 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 blah. They'll tell them all about it. If somebody emails and says, I'm interested in that blue Suzuki Swift, for some reason, they don't do everything that they tell the person. You know, the response goes back, yeah, it's here, what do you want to know? Well, if a bloke comes in, walks onto the forecourt and says, can you tell me about that blue Suzuki Swift? We don't say, what do you want to know?
Exactly. Exactly. It's Patrick Tessier, a very good friend of mine from Australia, and we did a podcast for him a while back. I love how he says this. Car dealerships have got two front doors now. We've got the traditional, sorry if I could say that word, front door, and then we've got the internet. And you know what? It's just another front door. Okay. Don't set up an internet department. Don't say your salespeople need to know how to open up the door to the front door to the traditional dealership and the internet door. It's exactly the same thing. Treat people in the same way. Technology. Go on.
Sorry. One of the problems that the salespeople have is that if somebody walks onto the forecourt looking at a car, they're actually, you've got a pretty good idea that they're far closer to buying a car.
Yeah.
When somebody inquires, can you tell me about that blue Swift that you've got in stock on the internet? You've got no idea really whereabouts in the funnel they are. Because they could be right at the top of the funnel. They could have just started looking. They could have, because people do start looking and they'll just click a button. Oh yeah, inquire. But they're maybe a month, 6 weeks, 2 months away from actually making a purchase decision. And it's very, very difficult over email to find out whereabouts they are in the purchase funnel. And I think that too often the whole industry, and certainly we do, and salesmen do, they're interested in somebody that's going to buy a car today or tomorrow. Salesmen lose interest very, very quickly in somebody that's not buying a car today or tomorrow. And that is an issue that we all need to get better at, because when there's more internet inquiries, we have to keep them warm for longer. And that isn't easy. And salesmen get turned off very quickly. And the problem is now that there's more coming in.
Yeah.
There's more inquiries coming in. So unfortunately, the cool inquiry that didn't get a response, didn't get any engagement, oh, he hasn't replied to me. And then it's difficult to try and draw that back, because they're not buying the car, they just need nurturing and keeping warm and just letting know that we're there. And it's not a salesman that good at that.
Yeah, and I had this with a conversation with someone recently. Can't remember who it was. It might be on the podcast somewhere. Someone was saying that, oh, hold on, the customer just wants to know what their car worth. Oh, they just want to know what their car's worth. They just want. No, they're not. If they just want to know what their car's worth, they're going to go to Phil Schofield and find out from We Buy a Car what it's worth within 30 seconds and go back to patting their dog or whatever he says. Okay, if someone's inquiring saying, what's my car worth? Actually, that's a good buying signal there. Now, the thing is, it might not be now. They might be at the start of their process, but we've got to keep working with that person to see where they are in the process. But
somebody that's starting the process, that's looking to buy a car, one of the first things they want to do is work out, if I've got $5,000 in my back pocket to spend on a car, should I be looking at a 10 grand car or should I be looking at an 8 grand car? Because I need to know how much is my car worth, 3 grand or 5 grand.
Yeah, but if they're coming to your website and asking what my car's worth, they've done that because they found something on your website. It's not on We Buy a Car or something like that.
Yeah, correct.
So listen, let's go forward now. Where's the future of retailing going to be? If we look into rose-tinted glasses or whatever it is into the future, or the crystal ball, I think I should say, there, 5, 10 years down the track, are we still going to be around as salespeople, or are we dinosaurs now?
No. But people will always, as far as I can see, people will always buy from people. And people want the reassurance of looking somebody in the eye. It's a big purchase. It's a scary thing to buy a used car or even a new car without sitting in it, driving it, touching it, feeling it. That's what people want. And they want to have people that they can trust, that are transparent, that are nice to deal with. And all those good, warm, nice skills are going to be the things that are going to save car dealerships. And those are the things that the cold, impersonal, internet, live chat, etc., just click and it'll turn up. It's convenient, but we can now make everything that we do convenient. We don't quite have the resources for the technology that the big boys have. But we've got the personal interaction and the knowledge. And if somebody has a problem with a car, cars they might have problems, but cars have issues and things, and people want to know how something works and this, that, the other, and what. If you're buying it from an internet place or a delivery collection centre or somebody that doesn't know cars, that just follows a process, and you ring up a week after you've got your car and there's a light on my dashboard, or there's this, that, and the other, and what have you, or where do I check the oil? They ain't going to help you. They're going to pass you on to somebody in customer services, and customer services aren't going to know anything about the car that you've bought or anything else and whatever. They're just going to read through a script. They buy it from us, and we know what we're talking about. Bob down, or we can do a Zoom call through and show you what to do, and we can do a video that show you how this works, because we have the cars and we're experts. We're car people.
Yeah, car people. I love that. Hey, listen, what's your one tip or bit of advice you'd like to leave the listeners or the viewers to this? Is there anything specific you'd like to leave them with?
I would say that when you sat in a showroom, and I've done it, my business plan to start with was by the end of the 12 months, I had to be selling 12 cars a week. That was it. And when you sat in the showroom and there's nobody coming in and the phone's not ringing and you've worked all the leads that you've worked them all to death, and you sat there twiddling your thumbs, and what can I do now? And I hear all sorts of things on different podcasts in America about what they do, how they sell a car. Well, I have a bit of a different take, because I believe that you can't do an awful lot today to sell a car today, but you can do something today to sell a car tomorrow.
Okay.
So if you sat there and you don't know what to do, and there's no phone calls and there's nobody coming in on the pitch and what have you, work out what you can do today that might sell you a car tomorrow. And by saying that, it's just a matter of raffle tickets. The more raffle tickets we buy, the more chance you have of winning the raffle. So even if it's just rephotographing used cars, doing a better description for a used car, checking that they all start, because if you don't check that they all start today, or you don't check something today, and somebody comes to look at that car tomorrow and it doesn't start, or they read a description of a used car and it's got a spelling mistake in that you could have corrected today and you didn't, they might not buy it tomorrow. So do something today that might sell you a car tomorrow.
I love that. Nice and simple. So true. So true. Robin, how do people get hold of you? If you're a salesperson listening to this thinking, wow, I'd like to work for you. Listen, your mobile number, I understand it's on your website, but what's the easiest way for people to get hold of you?
They can ring me, 0798 464 7938. It's all over the website. They can email me at robin@luscombemotors.co.uk. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. But yeah, if you want a job and you want to be the closest thing to being a self-employed car dealer without any risk, but with just a load of money, and I'll just add one thing. Mm-hmm. That when we set out in this 12 years ago and what have you, I had certain goals. First goal was I had to survive. Mm-hmm. I had to hit 12 cars a year by the end of the first year and survive to keep my house and everything. I did that. The second year then was I had to make sure I didn't have a honeymoon period and a fall off after the euphoria of the first year went and what have you. Then I wanted to win Suzuki Dealer of the Year, and I wanted to win Auto Trader Awards, and I wanted to do this, and then I wanted to sell 1,000 used cars in a year, and then I wanted to sell over 500 new Suzukis and whatever. We just kept ticking them off, and what have you. And I wanted to make a 6 knots profit and what have you. We've ticked them off. What I'd really like to do, and this will be really strange, is that I'd like to have a salesman that I pay 100 grand a year to. Because if I pay a salesman 100 grand a year, he's earned me a load of money. He's done well. So if you want to earn 100 grand a year and you want to graft, and I mean graft, and you want to get torn in, and you want to be like some of these guys that we hear on these podcasts that really go to work and do everything and what have you, come and work for me and you can have the money.
Yeah, come to work, don't come to work to wait. Yeah, that's it. Robin, listen, I really enjoyed that. And I hope I don't offend you this, but I love your down-to-earth approach. Keep it simple, it sounds, okay? And let's not overcomplicate it. I hope that's not too offensive, but that sounds what your business is like. Would that be fair to say?
That's just exactly what it is. Keep it simple. Common sense, but common sense ain't very common.
Yeah, hey, isn't that so true? And that's why you punch above your weight, sir, and you just win award after award. Listen, thank you very much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
No problem. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
That just leaves me to say that all details of this episode and other episodes on the selling in the motor trade can be found on our website, symcotraining.co.uk. Go there to get a copy of our book, Words That Sell Cars. Go there to sign up to a free trial of our Sales Fitness online sales training program. Easiest way to get hold of me is Simon Bowkett through LinkedIn. Thank you.